All right, good evening. My name is JaLisa Hawkins. Today is April 3rd, 2022, and we're just going to be conducting a roundtable on IT project management. Before we get started, I just want to ask for everyone's permission to record this session.
Yes, hi, Brandon. You have my permission. This is Brandon.
Yes, you have my permission. This is Regina.
Okay, great. So before we get into it, I just want to have everybody kind of introduce yourselves and what your current role is. So everybody know, like, I'm JaLisa Hawkins, and right now I'm getting ready to start in a cyber auditor role, pursuing my master's in software engineering. So I'll turn it over to the attendees.
Okay, my name is Regina Chapman. My current role is a travel analyst at the U.S. International Trade Commission. And that's about it.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nelson Carthen. My current role is being an electronic warfare instructor at Fort Gordon, Georgia. I recently completed my master's in information systems, and I'm starting to look for jobs in the IT community.
Thank you for that.
All right, this is my name is Brandon Stinson. Currently, I am a software developer. I am currently at Wells Fargo as an RPA, robotics process automation engineer.
Thank you. So we'll get right into it. So these are the topics that we're kind of going to go over and discuss. And these are just some of the things that we discussed throughout the duration of this course. And so we're going to talk about project managers, stakeholders, risk management, and cost management. All right, starting off, I'm just going to talk about some project manager roles and responsibilities. And obviously, project managers need to plan for every possible outcome to optimize resource management, but also to reduce costs. And there are so many different there are so many different areas that project managers must manage to ensure the success of a project. What are some effective ways, if you all have worked on any projects that you've seen being implemented to kind of accomplish managing, from building a team to the budget to developing the project to evaluating the performance of the project to tracking the progress? Like, what has been some things that you guys seen being implemented to kind of manage all these elements of a project?
Hey, this is Brandon. One of the things that I've seen when it comes to project management is Scrum meetings, right? So Scrum is a methodology that you use to get from point A to point Z on a project, and the morning stand-ups is a part of the normal everyday process where you find out what the current process is, where you came from, and where you're going in order to track progress and the burn down of the project as the project on its way to completion.
That's interesting. I know over the course of this class particularly, but also throughout my program, we've used a lot of project management softwares. Microsoft Project is the main one that we use. And basically it's just like a way to visually display the budget, how the resources are being managed, how the team members are being managed, the time, making sure that the project is on schedule. Has anybody seen anything like that being utilized as far as like software?
For me, I haven't seen, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is Nelson. So far as teams, just having the communication and making sure that you have clear communication between your teams, what's going on, and also communicating with your customer with what is going on. The Microsoft Teams is something that I've seen and that I've been told that works really effectively when you're doing a project.
Yeah, I've been using that a lot as well, just kind of to like as a way to network, but absolutely that's a way to kind of set those meetings up and kind of get in touch with everybody on the project team.
And this is Brandon. One of the softwares or systems that we use at my company is called Jira, Jira, where there are stories that are written in order to guide the developers to what needs to be done at a specific step, so that the project is completed like a storybook. And so Jira, it goes from backlog to in process to completed. So it's a system organized when it comes to tasks. So that's one of the things that I've seen as far as project management.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you. Thank you for that. So we're just going to kind of move on to if anybody does, if no one else has any other input, we're just going to move on to some skills or qualities that a good project manager kind of should have. And so last week in class, the question was posed, who has managed you well, and what qualities or attributes did that particular manager have that you feel allowed them to be successful in managing you? So I think, Nelson, you brought it up earlier, you know, the teams as being a way to communicate with the project team. But here are some other important attributes I feel like a leader should have. But I also think that being versatile in your management skills is important, because as a project manager, there's going to be different levels of people that you'll be in contact with. So you have the people that are going to be on your project team, but you also have like those key stakeholders that are kind of, they're not going to be underneath you like as a subordinate per se, but more of like high level, you know, individuals that you won't be able to kind of manage them in the way that you would be able to manage your team. Can anybody else speak to that?
This is Brandon. One of the ways that I've seen that actually my current project manager, how he operates is really keeping an open line of communication and not taking a top-down mentality, not bringing it to the table. It's really a collaborative effort, because without every person on his team that's a part of the project, nothing gets done. So respectively, he really communicates at a high level. When it comes to the stakeholders or the lines of business, they're there to guide on their process so that we can automate it. But it's the way that he communicates and ties everybody in to get us into the right meetings, and allows everybody the chance to talk and give their point of view and perspective, so that we can all be on the same page, even though our activities are different. So he's like the referee, as I would say, in between everything, and he keeps everything smooth. So that's one of the ways I've seen a project manager operate.
Okay, what about, have anybody ever been a part of a project or a team that maybe the manager had poor leadership skills? And if so, like what were some ways that you were kind of able to navigate that, you know, to still be able to effectively do your job, but to also ensure the overall success of the project?
Hello, this is Nelson. As being a prior military member, ran into a lot of poor leaders, and the first thing that we learned from them is how to be better leaders by not doing what they did as leader that made them bad leaders. But as a team, whenever your project manager or your leader is falling short in certain areas, that's when you have to come together as a group and overcome the shortcomings of your project manager.
I'm sorry, can you say that last bit again?
As far as having a bad leader, when you
Mhm.
come together as a group, you work together as a team to overcome the shortcomings of your leader or your project manager. So whatever they're falling short at, as a team, you work together to overcome that and to get the project or accomplish the goal that you're shooting for.
Absolutely. Um, so in addition to these, because we, already discussed good communication skills, being motivational, a good leader, creating buy-in for those that don't really, that really aren't on board with the project, being able to create that buy-in and having good interpersonal skills. What are some other good qualities that you guys think that a project manager, or that you've seen, you know, a project manager have that was able to effectively, um, lead their team, but also see through to the success of the project?
Hello, it's Nelson again. I think a good quality of a project manager is having the ability to undersell and over-deliver. And with that, whenever they have a project and it's sitting in front of them, making the clear conscience to be able to be conservative with the timeline that they're going to give or the budget that they're going to use for this project. So when the customer gets their product back from them, they're happy with it because they received more than what they was expected to receive, and they got it at a quicker time. But if you try to keep it down as far as the budget and try to pin and pinch, and then you end up overcharging them, the customer is going to be very unhappy. So being able to undersell and over deliver is a great quality of a project manager.
I agree.
This is Regina. I would say adaptability.
Yes.
Like in the case of like having a contingency plan, in the case of predictable or unforeseen failure.
Mhm.
I guess failures in project management can range from insufficient software, hardware, resources, or even time. I
Yeah,
guess
we're
operating.
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that's kind of one of the big things that kind of classify whether a project is successful or not is, was the project complete in the timeline that it was allotted for? So yeah, I think being able to adapt to your environment is definitely a good quality for a project manager to have. So I agree. Okay, so next we're just gonna go over stakeholders. And so in project management, it is the project manager's responsibility to kind of manage the stakeholders, right? And so you have to be able to identify and categorize those entities that will be affected by the project, whether they're internal or external to the organization. Understanding and knowing the groups, people, or organizations that could potentially be impacted by a decision or a task or outcome of the project. And according to the Project Management Institute, stakeholder engagement is one of the most valuable aspects of the project management process. And just want to pose a question like, why do you think that is? Why do you think that's one of the most valuable aspects, being able to, you know, successfully manage stakeholder engagement?
Hey, it's Nelson again. I think being able to manage it is a good thing because with the project manager having communication with the stakeholders, they can actually bring them back to reality because a lot of times stakeholders are asking the team to do stuff that's not realistic. And with being a good project manager, you communicate that to them guys and you let them know with the amount of time that your people are given or with the resources that you have, you can't give them what they're asking for and find a better way to give them what they really need instead of what they think they need because they're not experts in the field. They just know what they want. And it's a good way as a liaison between your team and the stakeholder or customer is to be able to communicate and work it out where your team can do a good job for them and they can get exactly what they need and what they wanted instead of what they think they need. And that's why it's important to be able to communicate well and be able to educate your customer about what they're asking for and what they're going to get from you and your team.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. This is Regina. I'll say being the ones affected by the new implementation of or change to workflow and processes, stakeholders engagement is important for the project managers to have the opportunity to demonstrate the value of a project. Conversely, it's critical for the project manager to receive feedback from the stakeholders so that deliverables are suited and meet the expectations of the stakeholder. This kind of aids in the efforts of change management.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback off that, Regina, stakeholders can kind of provide those constraints or requirements based off the data or information that they have in whatever industry they operate in. So I absolutely agree with you on that, Regina. And it'll also be able to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead. One of the things I was going to say is when it comes to engaging with stakeholders, a lot of times they're the gatekeepers of access management. So in my situation, I engage with the stakeholders to not only understand what process they need to get completed, but also what systems play a part into this equation. Like if we need, access to a system called CARS, so that I can actually push data to it or pull data down from it. They are the ones that would know, hey, at this step of the process, this is what's required. So stakeholders definitely play a major part in access management when it comes to completion of a project.
Absolutely agree. And it is going to move right on over to the stakeholder analysis matrix. And this is just kind of how, you would kind of classify the groups of stakeholders. Obviously, if they're high interest, high influence, or high power, then those are going to be like those key individuals that you kind of want to manage closely. Yeah. Then I also just want to get into risk management. So being that everyone here is a veteran, we all know how important risk assessments are in managing risk, whether it be planning a field exercise or a qualification range, or if it's just a training day. Risk assessments and risk management are a must, but that also rings true in the world of project management as well. And so just to bring up, I guess, Virginia, you had spoke on it earlier about contingency plans, like why are contingency plans so necessary in project management?
I would say the failures in the project management, pretty much like I said before, like the failures of the project management and the insufficient software and hardwares.
Absolutely. And that kind of I guess, goes into closeout or at the end of a, event or, a training day or whatever, what have you, conducting those after action reviews and then kind of seeing like where did, what was supposed to happen, what actually happened, and, how can we, what changes can we make to mitigate these risks in the future?
Right. Basically, yeah, operating. I agree. So basically, operating a project manager in any organization, it's important to practice like old adage, like hope for the best, plan for the worst,
Yeah,
is to not waste the organization's time and resources, but to deliver a product and or service that provides value to its operations.
absolutely.
Yeah, with there being a, when we're talking about risk, especially with us all being veterans, we understand what, well, I was in the aviation part. So we had this thing called operational risk management, where you wanted to minimize the space and opportunity for mistake. And this is where this would definitely take a big part. Some of the things you can do to kind of manage risk is definitely SWOT analysis, depending on what type of activity you're in when it comes to projects as well. So I think that's definitely a big part of risk management. Yeah, pretty much.
Absolutely, I agree. So this is just an image of the risk management matrix. And this is just what one of the tools that can be used to kind of categorize it and to be able to see, where the risk falls. Is it very likely to happen? How severe would the impact be to the project, type of thing? So this is just an image of a tool that can be used in risk management. And this is just some stats that I found online, and it's just showing that the 4 most critical process to project success, and they had risk management at 40%, falling in second place behind stakeholder engagement, which we just discussed previously. And so now,
I'm sorry. Why do you think the risk management is at 40%?
I think because, like we just said, it's very critical to a project success. So if you don't properly plan, and you don't have a contingency plan in place, the downfall of that is not being able to know, like, where do I go from here? So if there's risk, we know that we have this risk, we'll know how to kind of move on from that risk. So address the risk, neutralize it as much as possible, and then be able to continue on with the project and the progress of the project, but not having that, not properly managing your risk or having that risk management plan in place. It kind of leaves you out to the wolves, honestly. You don't have anything to go off of, and you won't know where to go from there once the risk has already happened. And also that's kind of like when the contingency plan comes into play as well.
I agree. Will said. Limited capital dedicated to a project.
We're not going to need that, but okay. And so now I'm just going to go into cost management, another major variable in determining the project success. It's concerned with resources being spent as expected. Accurate budgets and benefit estimates are needed to accurately evaluate proposals. And we also provide valuable control mechanisms during the project implementation. Does anybody have anything to add as far as cost management or how they've seen kind of, cost management kind of being managed from a project management perspective?
I've seen it in many different ways and also in many different industries. Cost management is very important, because if you don't, really control the cost of things, especially now in today's age of everything being outrageously priced, from raw materials to wood to asphalt to concrete. They have projects now today where construction projects that are well off into the middle of it, and then it falls flat on its face, because of the lack of cost management. So it definitely plays a major key, or major role, in the completion of a project, I would say, and in the industry, especially in, I would say in construction or anything else.
Absolutely. So these are just some more statistics specifically on budgets and project management. And I want to kind of draw your attention to the far right. And it says that IT projects with budgets exceeding $1 million have a 50% higher failure rate than projects with budgets below 350,000. I guess my question is, like, why do you think that is? The bigger the budget, the more the risk of failure is.
Hey, it's Nelson. I think that that's the reason, because the bigger the budget, the bigger the project's going to be. You're going to have more people working on it, and you're going to have more things that needs to be done during that project. So adding more elements to the project is going to create a higher risk of failure than having a smaller project.
I agree.
Yes, I would definitely say more hands in the pot, and more roles, and it's a less controlled environment if you don't run a tight ship with, rather having stand-ups every morning to track the progress of the thing. So, like you said, bigger the project or bigger the budget, the bigger the project. And, when things are large, there's a lot of moving parts. So
Absolutely.
that's what I would say.
So I just want to close it out, and I guess kind of get what was your main takeaway from this roundtable?
I would say, this is Brandon. I would say, you definitely did your homework, and you were able to guide the conversation in a very natural manner. I'm not familiar with the other two individuals on the call, but it definitely felt like we've been in this room together before, and you made it a safe space for us to all share, and left the floor open for us to express ourselves on these different subjects that we have experience on.
Thank you, Brandon.
This is Nelson. I feel kind of the same way as Brandon. I like the ability to be able to communicate with each other and to go back and forth, and how after every type subject you gave individuals time to give their input, and after the input was done, you gave feedback and not just sat there and let us say what we needed to say and moved on to the next subject or topic.
Thanks, Nelson.
I would say, JaLisa, job well done. I agree with both of the attendees. And I would just go on to say I was intrigued to find out that risk management was the 40%, which I thought may have been more, but it is an important.
I thought it would have been higher up as well. I thought it would have had a higher percentage amongst projects. I thought so too. But it was kind of interesting to see that how important stakeholder engagement was as well. So thank you, Regina.
You're welcome.
So I just want to say thank you all for attending and participating in this roundtable. I enjoyed this discussion, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. You guys have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good night.